ahead and get started. So again, welcome. My name is Donna Bachowski, and I am one of the educators here with Bywater Solutions. And I have the lovely Kelly with me today.
Hi, Donna.
We are coming to you from opposite corners of the East Coast. Kelly is all the way up in Maine, and I'm all the way down in Florida. So kind of got the East Coast covered. So today's webinar is going to be, it's the second session that we're doing on patrons and circulation. And to start with, I'm going to go ahead and paste the agenda into the chat window. So it'll go ahead and give you kind of, something to follow along with, but also let you know just everything that we covered in here. So if you don't take all the notes quick enough, you'll be able to see all the bugs that we did talk about during today's webinar. So all of these webinars are being recorded, and we are posting them to our to a couple of different places on our website, both the upgrade webinar schedule, which will also tell the other ones that we have coming up soon, and the upgrade notes, which is something that's a little bit more long-term, and that will go ahead and hang around for a while. In fact, we'll keep that up probably indefinitely, and that will have all of the recorded webinars. It'll also have the Q&As from our webinars, which is something we started doing fairly recently, where with all the questions that y'all ask, we go ahead and compile those into one document so everyone can see the questions that are asked in the different webinars, and you don't necessarily have to attend all of them to get all the questions. So those are really great resources to make sure that you go ahead and take a look at. And let's see. I think those are kind of the big things. We do have the Q&A panel. So if you have a question, we ask that you put that in the Q&A panel. It just makes it a little bit easier for us to manage it and be able to answer those. But if you go ahead and type your question into the chat box, that's fine too. Just make sure that you are sending it to all panelists and attendees so that everyone can see your question or comment. So let's jump right in. We're going to go ahead and start in the staff client. One of the things to be aware of is that there haven't been any significant workflow changes in 1811. It's really just enhancements and bug fixing, those sort of things. So no major changes to your workflows. Hopefully just things that'll make your life a little bit easier. As a reminder, webinars will go ahead and start upgrades will go ahead and start in June. We'll make sure to let you know when those webinars are, when those upgrades are happening. We'll go ahead and push a notice to your staff client in that red box like you're used to seeing. And then you just need to remember after your upgrades to go ahead and clear your cache, and you'll be all set to go. So little things make us happy, as you know, on the patron detail page now. So when you go ahead and look at your patron, you'll see that things are just a little bit, different looking on there. It's just been a little bit of style refresh. Have edit is now showing as buttons here instead of just the word, so it's something that catches your eye a little bit more. If the field is blank, it will go ahead and show you that add button instead. So you've got two options. It'll either show you that edit if there is information in there. If there's not information in there, it'll go ahead and show you that add button, so you can quickly see and just kind of verify whether or not there is information in there or not. There is also, sorry, let me go ahead and stop my video. Let's see how that is. Is that working for everyone a little bit better?
Yeah, let's go with that. Let's go with it, Dawn, and see what happens.
Okay. You just won't be able to see my smiling face, so that's okay. Exactly. You saw me before. Okay, so one of the other neat features is that there's a new system preference that is last patron. And up here in the right-hand corner of your staff client, you will see that there is a link that will take you back to the last patron. And so that's going to go ahead and connect you back to your last patron until you pull up another patron. It will follow you through those different screens that you're going through. So if you you forget to write down the patron's number or whatever, it's going to go ahead and be there for you. That is a system preference, so you will need to make sure that that is set the way that your library wants to be able to do that. It does work when you're searching those sorts of things, but it will go ahead and keep you that last patron showing. Okay. And this stays for your session. So this will go ahead and hold this patron's information until I either pull up a new patron or until I go ahead and log out of my session. Okay, so you know what? Let's go ahead and we're going to hold on for just a second. I'm going to go ahead and switch my internet connection. Okay, I went ahead and connected to my my hotspot, so hopefully that'll go ahead and take care of that lag. I think it's probably just such a nice day that nothing wants to work the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, exactly. I just saw that mine says internet unstable too, and I thought, what is going on? The internet. So it's outside is too nice.
You know what? It's giving us messages that we should be outside enjoying our day instead. So
exactly.
Okay. All right, there is also another new system preference that when you are in the patron information, and since I changed connections, it's going to make me log in again. We are off to a flying start, y'all. There we go. When I am looking at patron information, there is a system preference that allows you to hide patron data in the circulation page. So when I am actually looking at a patron that has information here, when I am on that checkout page, it goes ahead and hides things like address, email, all of those sorts of things. So it's just one more step that it goes ahead and kind of maintains a little bit more of your patron privacy. Again, system preference, it's called hide personal patron detail on circulation. So the system preferences are getting longer, but they're getting more descriptive, so we'll take that trade-off anytime. So the hide personal patron detail on circulation will go ahead and hide this patron information. You still would be able to see it if you come to that patron detail page, and it's going to go ahead and show like it typically would in the contact information, but it hides it from that left-hand column there. So nice little feature there to go ahead and do that one. So the next one, if you are using circulation history, it's not a system preference, but the library has to have the intranet reading history system preference turned on to be able to see the circulation history for the patron, and the patron has to be keeping that. But if you have met those conditions, then the barcode is now clickable. What we used to wind up doing is going into the title and trying to find that barcode. This is a little bit more of a shortcut. So it'll go ahead and take you just a little bit faster into that record if you're trying to find information about that item. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and grab another patron now and show you this one. Again, it's these little things that make us librarians happy when we're putting things in order and stuff like that. So now, when we look at our patrons who have guarantees, the guarantees display alphabetically. It's the little things I know, but there we go. We can go ahead and see all of Molly's guarantees in alphabetical order. So again, just one of those things makes it a little bit quicker. Most families, not an issue, but you know, when you do have those that have quite a few folks on them, it just makes it a little bit faster to be able to see those. Okay. There is also in this details page here, the date that a new date that's showing up, and that is your renewal date right here. So it goes ahead and shows you when that patron was last renewed. So before we could see the registration date and we could see the expiration date, but now you can go ahead and see when that renewal date is too. So again, just a little bit easier to be able to go ahead and see all of that information. There's another date that we also like to, so lots and lots of dates now, is updated on. That's over here on your left-hand column. So this goes ahead and shows in the patron information, and it shows the last time that patron's account was updated, whether it's details changed or renewal of the account or something like that. That's what that updated date is now going to be. So you can very quickly see when that patron's record was last adjusted. This next feature is for any of you libraries that have not floating collections, but rotating collections. And an example that I use with this one is being able to use, for instance, I see this done quite often with large print materials. So you have 4 or 5 locations, you go ahead and have those materials passed from one location to another every 90 days so that patrons at each location get those new materials. So that's called the stock rotation feature. Nancy, that updated date will only change when their details are modified. So it's completely on the staff end. It's not when it checks in or checks out, anything like that. It's just when that record, when the patron's information has been updated. Okay. All right. So, tools for our stock rotation. Hi, Karen. Yes, we'll go ahead and post the link to this webinar on our upgrade page, which I know the lovely Kelly will go ahead and post that URL into channel, and you'll be able to watch the first few minutes of it. I had to tell you it wasn't very exciting. I was having internet issues. So you'll be able to watch me struggle for a few minutes at the beginning of the webinar.
Yeah, I'll do that, Donna. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so here under tools, we have our stock rotation. So again, we do have rotating collections and stock rotation. And so we've been asked what the difference is. And the stock rotation, again, is really just kind of a more defined sort of thing that's really more schedulable, if that's a word. If not, I've just made it up. But what this does is it goes ahead and helps you manage the lists and how long they will stay and things like that. So let's go ahead and pop into our stock rotation and kind of give you an idea for this. Of course, there are system preferences that need to be set up first, but once those are set up, this feature will be enabled and you would see this module in the tools catalog or the tools menu like I showed you. And then there are some different things to be able to do with this one. So you also will need a cron job. So I know I'm throwing a whole lot of things at you, but the big takeaway is if you want to start using this stock rotation feature, let us know. Go ahead and open a ticket and we'll work with you to make sure that everything is set up the way that needs to be with both the system preferences and the cron jobs and the lists and all of those sorts of things. But what this does is it changes the home location of the items after a specific period of time, which you define. And then once it hits that, it's updated and a transfer will be triggered to move it from its physical location right now to where its new home rotation is going to be. There are some reports that we'll add to your site that help you manage those sorts of things. But you do see here that we have 3 items that are on rotation. There is a description in here. Whether or not that rotation is active. So again, you could actually have this set up and make them active and unactive and things like that. But if we just go ahead and say manage the items, we'll go ahead and just take a quick look in there and show you what it's going to look like. So again, we can go ahead and add more items to our stock rotations at any point by using the barcodes or a barcode file. And it goes ahead and shows you what this setup is. So you can see that this item is going to be at the main branch for 2 days, then it goes to the each branch the east branch for 45 days, then it goes to the south branch for 45 days, and then it goes over again. So again, it goes ahead and continues through that process, moving around and around and around. Okay, so again, really handy for that. So Susan is asking, rotation is only available between branches and not internally. We have a storage DVD collection. Would love to have a queue to rotate that back into regular collection in the same branch. So no, it's only between branches. So I immediately go to, gosh, how can we make this work? There is that automatic modification by age, but we would be doing a lot of weirdness trying to set that up. Although I wonder, Kelly, I've never tried it, so we would have to experiment with this one, Susan. Kelly, do you think we could set it up so that it would, no, because we need reports to go with it. Yeah, reports are probably the best way to do it. I was trying to think if there's a way we could do an automatic modification by age, and you could set it to like 60 and then 180 plus 60, but you would still need the reports to go ahead and trigger that sort of thing.
Yeah, and automatic item modification by age goes by data sessions more so than anything else. You can't say this sort of thing, how long it's at one place.
But you know what, Susan? Open a ticket, because that's the sort of question that we love to get. Yeah, no worries. But yeah, if you want, go ahead and open a ticket, because we could set up those reports for you. And that would also be kind of an interesting bug for it to be filed in a community to see, because I'm sure there's other libraries. I know other libraries have asked that same question. So up to you. Not going to pressure you, but if you'd like to open a ticket, we'd be happy to work on that with you and figure out what we can do with it. So. Okay, so yeah, the stock rotation is going to be really helpful for, those libraries that are moving collections from, rotating the collections from place to place, and then just keep doing those on a cyclical basis. So, okay. So next up, you now have the ability to show the non-public item note in the overdue report. Okay. So when I look at the circulation and I go ahead to look at the overdue report right here, okay, we can see the column for the non-public notes. Let's see if we have anything showing here. There we go. So we have a couple of items that do have non-public notes in them, and that would go ahead and show up in your overdue report. So again, just lots of ways to get more access to those sorts of non-public notes. That non-public note field tends to be showing up in different places, and so we're just adding more places for that to be able to show. So this next one is kind of a neat feature. It is sponsored by the Fargo Library, so yay Fargo. It offers you the ability to prevent renewals on certain item values. There is a new system preference, of course. It works fairly similar to the OPAC hidden items system preference. So let me go ahead and pull that up and show you what that actually looks like when we're setting it up. Okay, so it's called Items Denied Renewal. Okay. And so you can see that it does go ahead and show you, defining the custom rules to deny specific items from renewal. So this can come in handy. You can see that this possibility, the way that we have this set up, is it has collection code as something that's being denied renewals. So for instance, you could say that this is a juvenile material. It just circulates as a juvenile material. It doesn't, circulate as a board book. It's not a separate item type. But we can say any juvenile material that has a collection code of board book cannot be renewed. So it overrides the circulation rules. So you do go ahead and put that, in there to be able to set that up. We did test it on the auto renewal rule, and the system preference overrode it. So as in all things, kind of the system preferences is kind of the one ring to rule them all, so to speak. But it does go ahead and set that, so you can block specific things within a item type or something like that to be able to go ahead and preventing the renewals without having to set up specific renewal rules. Okay. You will see, however, that when you're looking at the patron records, when they have something checked out, it'll say renewal denied by SysPref. Even though it says 3 of 3 renewals remaining, it'll still put that note up there first. It says renewal denied by SysPref. So you will be able to go ahead and see that ahead of time. So that'll make it a little bit easier. Let me see if I can grab a example of that really quick and show you exactly what that's going to look like. There we go. So again, you can see here that with these items, renewal denied by SysPref, even though it says 3 of 3 remaining. So just kind of be aware of that one. But could be really handy when you want to get all of your materials back for some particular reason, or leading up into some reading program, you need to get all a certain type of collection back or something like that. Things like that. So it just kind of nice little feature to be able to kind of bring those back in. This next one, we are all very, very excited about. So I know that in a lot of libraries, we have, consortiums, and you have, public libraries and school libraries, and while they share materials, you don't necessarily want public patrons going to the schools to pick up materials. And so you want to be able to block those libraries as pickup locations. So on your libraries page now, there is a new function. Okay. There's a new column called Pickup Location. So right now, the way we have it set is East Branch is not a pickup location. So when patrons place holds on the OPAC, it goes ahead and denies that as a pickup location. So it's a very simple drop down of yes or no. This one we've set to no, so that cannot be used as a pickup location. Okay. In the past, we've used jQuery to hide this. This makes it much cleaner and easier way to do it.
Donna? Oh.
Yeah. I see Nancy's question.
Yep.
Do you know?
I don't, and I didn't remember who you had checked out to.
It was Kelly M. I believe.
Okay, it was me. Okay, I was just going to check it out, see what it looked like on the OPAC side.
Let's see if I can go back. Oh, it won't log me in as you, will it? Never mind. So Kelly's going to check that, and we'll get an answer really quickly.
That is saying that I remember my password.
Kelly's going to keep working on that, and I'm going to move forward. We'll open in just a minute when Kelly remembers her password or resets it, whichever happens first.
Okay, I'm almost there. I'm almost there. I had to approve my GDPR consent.
Ah, yes.
The renew column, it says renewal not allowed.
Okay.
So it doesn't say why denied by SysPref. It just says renewal not allowed.
Okay, excellent. So patrons will know then that is, when they're looking at their records, that is something that cannot be renewed. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Okay, good question, Nancy. Thank you. Okay, circ and fine rules. You now have the option, we can thank Middletown Library for this, that sets a limit on how many holds a patron can put per day on the items. So with this example here, you can see our first two are set to 1 and 2, and then unlimited. Oops. I'm moving my window around instead of doing what I need to do. So adult patron audio, even though they can have 5 holds, they can only place 1 hold on that item type per day. Likewise with books, they can have 20 holds on the books, but they can only have 2 holds they can only place 2 holds per day. Now, I know everyone's probably like, oh my gosh, unlimited. Don't panic. Deep breath, it's all good. Basically, unlimited is the same as I haven't set anything in this column, so refer back to the total number of holds allowed. Okay, so even though it says unlimited, it will default to whatever is in the total holds allowed for that item type. So we are working with developers to have them change that wording so it's a little bit clearer on that one. But yeah, so you do have the ability now that you can restrict how many holds they can place per item type on that day. So
I submitted a bug today that just said we'd like maybe a tooltip, you know, just something where you hover over that where it says this is not unlimited, but we're just not limiting at this point. You know, or something like that.
Yeah, it can be confusing, and heaven knows that the circumfine rules table is confusing as it is. So anything that we can do to make that a little bit simpler is going to be fantastic. Okay, again, more system preferences, and this could be helpful again for libraries that do have multiple locations. You have the ability to split the view of the holds on a record by the pickup library and or the item type. So if I go ahead and take a look at, let's search for the record that we have in there. So is 52430. Okay. When I go ahead and look at my holds list, okay, a little bit different look than what we're used to. We do have this turned on to go ahead and break it out by location and item type. So we can see that we have one hold for the audio that is going to be picked up at the East branch. We have one hold for any item type to be picked up at the main branch, and one item type new books to be picked up at the main branch. I can see libraries using this as far as like the branches go. I don't know that most libraries actually catalog multiple item types on one bib record, but if you do, this would definitely be something for you to be able to kind of take a look at those and see how that is working. But that is the hold split queue, which goes ahead and splits the holds queue into separate tables, and then the hold split queue numbering, which is a little bit different. It goes ahead, and you can see everyone is set as priority 1 on here. So that can be a little confusing for that one. So I would just kind of be aware of that, what that is. So you can actually have it set to actual priority, which can kind of show you things out of order and definitely be confusing, or virtual priorities, which is what we have set up, where each one is ordered separately. It's kind of like its own little holds queue within that holds queue. Okay, but that is the system preference to hold split queue. And again, it can help kind of just give you a better look at who's waiting for what holds and things like that. In particular, I do think of some of those consortiums that their patrons get priority for their books. And so you would very quickly be able to see how many are on hold for each location as you go through that one. Okay. With this, you cannot change the priority with your drop-down numbers here, but you can go ahead and use these 4 arrows to move patrons around in the holds queue if there's more than one waiting for them. Okay, well this, not really, Susan. No. Yeah. Sorry, Kelly, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I was only on mute. I was muted when I was talking, so I interrupted you.
Okay, but yeah, no, this is not really going to help them figure out which one's going to be faster, because this really just shows on the staff record. It doesn't show on the patron side. It might help your staff, you know, if you've got multiple things on one record, to be able to split them down and see what that is. But again, you would have to have that, you know, that bib record with both the regular print and the large print books on that one. Okay, yeah. So if you have regular print and large print on that same bib record, then yeah, you could go ahead and have it split by item type, and you'd exactly be able to see how many people are waiting for the large print, how many people are waiting for the regular one, and figure out which one's going to be a little bit faster. Oh, if they're separate bibs, then yeah, you're still going to have to look at that holds number on each record to see what that count is. Yeah. And that's something I do want people to be aware of, is that, you know, a lot of folks don't, a lot of libraries don't show their patrons hold information, but you do have the ability just to show them the holds count, which does go ahead and let them see how many holds there are. So it gives them a little bit of an idea. It doesn't show them anything else other than just the number of holds that are on that bib record. So that can sometimes help if you don't have those turned on in your OPAC. Okay. All right, so this next item has been sponsored by the Round Rock Public Library, so yay, Round Rock. And this is set limit on maximum possible holds per patron by category. And so now what you can do is, it is possible to set a limit on the maximum number of holds for a particular branch category item type, but not the total number of holds for a given patron. So this works in conjunction with the existing borrowing rules that are set up, and it will use the lower or the more restrictive of the limits. Okay, this counts all holds of all types, which basically closes a bug where bib level holds weren't counted for the purpose of these limits. So let me go ahead and hop into our Circ and Find rules and show you this one. Okay, so as I come down here, there is the default checkout, hold, and return, or default checkout hold policy by patron category. So in here, I can go ahead and set that my adult patron can have 3 holds allowed. Now, I do have my circulation rules set that they can have 20 holds on books, but it's going to go ahead and default to this one because it is more restrictive. I have one library who already wants to start using it with an example of a guest card. So they want them to be able to have, you know, full access to the collection as far as how many things they can check out and things like that, but they don't want the guests using a lot of the holds queue. So they're letting them have, they're kind of leaving the total checkouts the same as what it would be for anybody else, but they're limiting the number of holds they can have. So again, that's a kind of a great example of, if you have a patron that's using your collection that you want them to be able to check out things, but they can't have that holds privilege, instead of setting up a whole new set of circ rules for every different item type, you can come down here and just go ahead and specify this for guest, no holds allowed, or 1 hold allowed, or something like that. And that's going to go ahead and clear that for them. So they're not going to be able to go ahead and place any more holds on it. Okay. Okay. Another new system preference. Not sure how many this makes for this particular session that we've done so far, but we did count yesterday, and there are 27 new system preferences in Koha now. And so I think we said the grand total is up to like 8 gazillion at this point. I'm kidding, but the one thing that we do joke about system preferences and there being so many of them, but what it is actually letting us do is make Koha so customizable to each location that every library can have it running the way that they want to. So the system preferences, we joke about them, but they're incredibly helpful when it comes to making Koha work the way that you want it to for your location. But 2 new system preferences, new system preference, it's called holds autofill slip. So if you are one of those libraries that are using the holds autofill, which is another system preference, and basically what that does is when that's enabled, you don't get the white box that pops up for a hold. You get a yellow box that pops up and says this hold is being filled. So with that white box, you have that ability to choose, you know, print or confirm hold, print slip, or ignore. With the holds autofill, you don't have those 3 options. It automatically fills that hold, and then this new system preference lets you go ahead and print that hold slip out immediately. Okay. So let's go ahead and make sure, let's see if we have this set up. I'm going to check in this item. Okay.
Remember Andrew Reese numbered all the barcodes?
Okay. Well, y'all get the idea. If you want to see it in action, you can always hop over to the demo site that you can link to from the Bywater website, which is already on 1811. So if you want to start playing with things now, you can go to our demo site and play there, and go ahead and turn on that system preference and see how it works. I don't know many libraries that actually do have that holds autofill set up, because I know a lot of libraries like the flexibility of being able to manage that a little bit more. But just kind of be aware of it, that is there in case you want it, if you want to be able to use it and that works for your location.
There might be something in the holds queue if you want to see.
Let's see. Okay, let's go ahead and check this in. There we go. Okay, so this is a perfect example of it, is that it does go ahead and it automatically pops up my print box. So depending on how your print settings are, it would be able to, if you're using Firefox, it can spit it out immediately. Chrome does require the extra step, which is what I have on there. So patrons or staff could just go ahead and click on that print to be able to go ahead and spit that out, but it basically saves you an extra step. So it'll go ahead and automatically print that out for you. So let's go ahead and just confirm.
Of course, we had tons of pop-ups with it.
I know, of course. But that's okay. So you get the idea. And you may have noticed that we have a charming little tone on ours instead of the little blaring error message. Again, that is something that someone with administrative privileges can change the tones on your Koha if you do have those turned on. So. Okay, one of my new favorite features, a relatively new favorite features in Koha, is the configure columns. It's under administration. It's been around for a while, but it hasn't had a whole lot of love to it. And what the developers are doing is they're continually adding things to this configure columns function. And it gives you, again, more control over how things look. There are a lot of ways that we can go ahead and use JavaScript to hide things on the, or make things not show, stuff like that. But this one we can now go ahead and do some things in the circulation one. And during our webinars, you'll see that we're mentioning this in multiple different places because there's a lot of different things that have been added to the column setting in this release. This one, again, sponsored by Fargo Public Library. And under the circulation module in your issues table, you can now let the collection code be displayed, which again, for a lot of libraries, this is really helpful information where, the item type might not be so helpful, but the collection code is really going to help them figure out where these materials need to be able to be shown. So the collection code will now show on your issues table when you are in circulation. So again, another neat feature, really helpful. And again, with all of these, you can come in and hide or unhide any of them depending on what your screen, what you want your screen to go ahead and look like. So that collection code would just be another column in that issues table on the patron record. Okay. So this next feature adds the collection to the list of items when placing a hold on a specific copy. So again, this is going to be for those libraries that use item level holds, or you're placing an item level hold in the staff client. So again, you either have to have the patron placing an item level hold in the OPAC, or go ahead and have this, for the staff in the staff client. And it does exactly what it says. It will go ahead and let both staff and patrons see the collection code that they're placing a hold on. So if I go ahead and hop into here, I'm going to go ahead and show you from the patron perspective. Okay. This is what Kelly was referring to before with the GDPR. It's a new function that we talk about in the administrative modules. So you do have to, we have our set that you do have to accept it before you can do anything. So let's go ahead and find a book and place a hold on it. And this is a demonstration of some of the limitations that we have set up.
Let me get rid of some holds.
It's okay. But just kind of, you know, that'll be one of those things that's going to be y'all's homework. So go in there and explore that one. But again, it does only show for item level holds, not for bib level holds. And I know a lot of libraries do not use the item level holds on that one. So just kind of be aware of that. Okay. Okay, article requests. I know a lot of libraries don't use this one, but those that do use it absolutely love it. And it does have a really useful place to be able to go ahead and do this one, to do this in particular types of libraries. So on the article requests section, when you come in here, you can go ahead and choose multiple. All right, let's go ahead and hit all libraries and see. In theory, what you can do is you can choose multiple items and have that same thing occur at the same time on all of those.
I want to say that Andrew was the last one to go into article requests, and you should be mad at him.
Yeah, we found it. They were just in a different library.
Oh, okay.
So for instance, what I can do is I can go ahead and select all of my article requests and have the same action completed. So I can say, go ahead and complete the request. And so all of those will be completed at the same time instead of having to do them individually, which could be a little bit time consuming depending on how often you use this. I know this is used quite a lot in special libraries, academic libraries, things like that. So this will be a huge time saver for them when they're going through and processing all of those article requests. Okay, back to my favorite section, which is fines and fees. One of the new things in here is, you know, we had the write-off, which was permitted a while ago. So now but with that, you had some limitations. Let me think if I can find someone who's got some fines on them that we can mess with.
Why do you always have to look at my account? Why do you think I always
have things that are overdue? See? Nobody would know it was you unless you admitted it. So now we have the ability, there's a new button that's write off selected. Before it was just write off all, which made patrons, or made staff a little bit nervous, and rightly so, because you don't want to write off everything. But now you do have the ability that you can either use your individual write-off lines, you can write off all of them, or you can write off whatever you have selected. So if I had 4 or 5 things on here that I was going to write off, I could select just those ones that I want written off and go ahead and do that. The next neat thing about this, though, too, is that when I click on write-off selected, I have a space that I can put a note here. I always forget to put the note in first, so this one is much better for me because I can put in the note at the final step. I do have my write-off amount that I can go ahead and change that, and I have my payment type too. So for instance, you know, perhaps it's not just a straight write-off, but it's an amnesty or it's a food drive or something like that. I've got a lot more flexibility now of when I'm writing off fines to say why those things are being written off. And this is not a sexist comment or harassment. This is an ongoing joke that we have with Kelly, that we do things because she's pretty. So there's nothing sexist there. It's just, it's an ongoing joke that we have with her. That's why we do it. So now you do have that note, so that you can go ahead and add those notes, you know, at the final step, instead of remembering that you have to go back and do it again. So again, yay Fargo for sponsoring this one, that you can do that write-off selected, and it does give you some more flexibility as far as being able to do those. Now, one of the things you may have noticed when we came into Kelly's account is that it was showing that on her checkout that she owed $3.70. But when I go ahead and look at her fines information, it shows that she should be paying me $50. So this is one of those things that we have been dealing with for a little while, where there's no reconcile thing. What's really nice is there's a new system preference that will automatically reconcile the account balance for patrons. So you don't have to go ahead and go in and, you know, use that apply credits button instead, or anything like that. It will go ahead and automatically do it for you. Okay, so you can see here that she actually does just owe that $3.70. But with this new system preference, it will go ahead and automatically reconcile that patron's account anytime you do something to it. So it goes ahead and it wouldn't be showing that $50 anywhere on her pay fines tab. It would show the $3.70. It will go ahead and apply the payments from oldest to newest. So it'll pay her oldest charges first, and then leave the most current ones there too. Okay, so that is a system preference called Account Auto Reconcile. That does give you now 3 different ways that you can have your system set up to reconcile account balances. The automatically reconcile, which is run through a system preference, which is, I think, probably what most libraries would want. Then you also have the button that we can add on there, where you manually click that button to reconcile balances, or we can set up a cron job that will run every morning that will go ahead and reconcile balances. So if you have it set one way and you want to set it the other way, let us know, and we're more than happy to work with you on either canceling that cron job or whatever you want to be able to do with that one. Now, the other thing that you may not have noticed is that we don't have a reverse button anymore. We have a void button. So the void button did come into the last release, but now we've taken the next step and gotten rid of the reverse button. People were to use the reverse button in the way that it was kind of intended to, but then they would reverse a reverse, and it just got really messy. So now you have the ability that you can go ahead and just void. So what you can do, so right here we have that payment of $129.38. I'm just going to go ahead and void that payment. It double checks if that's what you want to do. I say yes. Okay. And so now you will see that it has been voided. And she's back to owing us a whole bunch of money. So, but that void just makes a very clean entry. It goes ahead and says, nope, this is done. No more void, or no more reverses, anything like that, just strictly voided. So it just makes things a lot cleaner for when you're being able to do that. When you use the reverse, if you remember, you used to see the dollar amount still, and it was very, very confusing. So this void, it goes ahead and just that dollar amount is 0, and it just kind of neutralizes that one out. Okay. There is also another feature that goes along with this that Carnegie Stout Library sponsored, and this is the ability to void any credit. So you can void, you know, any sort of these credits that you wind up with. So I'm going to go ahead. Actually, let's see if, I wonder if Andrew went ahead and wrote this one off completely or not. So we'll see. Now we'll create a manual credit for this one.
I will look at my account. There's a question. If a patron can see when you void a payment on their online account.
Oh, that is a good question. Like here, for instance, we do have a $1 credit on Laura's account. I can go ahead and void that out. So that's a simplistic example of it, but you know, if a patron returns a book that's been lost and automatically gives them a credit, you can go ahead and wipe that credit out if you don't want them to have that credit. So that's kind of the big thing that I see using this for, is that, you know, patron will pay for a book and then they'll go ahead and return that book and then look at the credit. So now you can wipe that credit out very easily, very quickly. You don't have to manipulate with your manual invoices and all of those sorts of things to balance it out. So you can go ahead and void those credits straight off.
Yes, you can see when something is voided on the patron's account on the OPAC.
Okay, good to know. Okay. Another neat function is that you now have the ability to add email receipts for account payments and for write-offs. They are independent, so you don't have to do both of them. You can do one or the other. So for instance, if you want patrons to be able to get an email receipt when they make a payment, you can go ahead and set that up. And so that's absolutely a fantastic way to be able to do it, because who wants to walk around with a cash register receipt all the time? But you can go ahead and set up that notice to email receipts for account payments. You also have the ability to go ahead and set that up for account write-offs, which I know libraries are a little more hesitant to do, but that is, you know, just be aware of that one, that those are notices that are available there. Again, system preference, that's called use email receipts, that would need to be set to send. And then there is that notice that you would need to go ahead and take care of also. So if we hop into tools right now, there's the account payment notice and the account write-off notice. Okay. So right there, account payment, account write-off. If you go to edit those, you will notice that they only use the template toolkits and template toolkit syntax, which is a new version. It's a new coding, I guess, that we're going to be moving to. So right now we're using hungry alligators, the caret signs, the sideways caret signs. Now we're going to be moving to the square brackets with the percentages, and that's what template toolkit is. So that's why that one looks a little bit different. If you have an auto renew notice, that's what that one is written in also. So you'll have seen that one before. But again, the same principle applies with all of these. All you would do is change the wording outside of your brackets. Don't change anything that's inside the brackets. Just change the wording on the outside the brackets for your notices. And that will go ahead and be sent to those patrons. Okay, hopping back to our patrons and their fines. In the patrons account, there is the filter transactions. And this will eliminate any zeroed transactions in here. So I don't know if you're going to necessarily see some of these things. So right now, like if you look at this part of the screen, you can see some of these that are there. And if I click on filter page transactions, it's not. No, probably a bad example. I'm not seeing any of those that have been balanced out actually. I'm wondering if it's, maybe I'm just not patient enough. No, it's not wiping those out. I wonder if it doesn't wipe out the void ones. Could be something we're going to take a look at.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. It's not void. It's not taking out any of the voided ones, which would kind of make sense. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, because it's just the paid transaction. Write-offs and voided are not paid. So possibly. All right, we'll look into that one a little bit more. You also will see the home library now of an item. So this is going to be really, really important when you are working with a consortium and things like that, so that if they do have fines or fees, you can see what library actually owns that item that they're getting fines or fees for. So that's a neat little adjustment also. Can a patron's fine be reinstated if it's voided by accident? So basically voiding a void, unfortunately you cannot. There is no ability to do that. What we would need to be able to do is go into some of the records and kind of get that information out, because you can see it just wipes everything out for that one. It completely takes that out. And do just kind of be aware that, again, this only shows when it's the fines and things like that. It doesn't show when the items have been voided, because again, it just kind of takes that out of the tables completely. And same thing for the write-offs. It doesn't tell you what that was for. It's really just those fines and things like that that you need to be aware of. Okay. Let's see what else we have. Neat little fun feature that you are going to be able to go ahead and add more information to those label batches, which is really helpful. A lot of times now with those label batches, you aren't able to go ahead and identify them very well. Now you can go ahead and add those in there. A couple of enhancements to course reserves that I'll touch on real quick, because we are getting close to running out of time. With the course reserves, you now have the ability to go ahead and add multiple items at once. You can batch add to your course reserves. So you do have the ability to go ahead and just scan all of those items in, and it'll go ahead and set those up that you can make all those changes at once instead of doing them one by one. So that's a nice functionality that you can go ahead and do that. And column configuration has been added to course reserves, like we mentioned before, that you can go ahead and do this one. A new permission called Manage Patron Lists. This has been sponsored by Neckles, so thank you, Kansas. And what this does is it lets you have the ability to go ahead and share patron lists. So if patrons do have, or if staff do have this permission, you can go to your patron lists. Okay. And you can see that you can share that information. You can share those lists. So this will make it much easier to be able to go ahead and share these lists with other folks. So under my actions, excuse me, under my list itself, okay. Am I going into the wrong spot? Go back. Okay, so I'm not seeing the check part, obviously, that I am looking for. There we go. So when I'm creating that new patron list, I can go ahead and share that list right there. So you'd be able to make sure that other people have access to that list. So again, really helpful if you're doing things like for patron lists. I find them really useful for things like if you have a list of patrons that attend a program on a regular basis. Like if you have a knitting club, you can go ahead and create a patron list and show all of those patrons that are in that knitting club or a book group or anything like that. So that share patron list between staff is really, really helpful. Okay, patron notes. This is if you use the allow checkout notes function, which when a patron has an item checked out, they have the ability to go ahead and add a note to that item. So if I look at my account in the OPAC, there is that little box there that I can go ahead and add a checkout note to. In the past, it was a little difficult for staff to see that. It would show when you checked an item in, but oftentimes staff would miss that because it was just a small blue pop-up. It wasn't actually a work interruption. But now there is the ability to go ahead and see these checkout notes pending on your home page. Mary, it's only with patrons. Excuse me, it's only with staff. Only staff can see those patron lists. But you can see that there are checkout notes pending. And so it's a lot easier to be able to see when there are checkout notes. And then it gives you some quick functionality that you're able to go ahead and either mark those, if you have those permissions, to be able to indicate whether they've been seen or not seen. So I can go ahead and select, mark it as seen, mark it as not seen. You can hide the seen ones. You can show all of them, things like that. So just added a whole lot more functionality to these checkout notes. And I know a lot of libraries were reluctant to use it because you really couldn't see when a patron had gone ahead and done that sort of thing. So now you do have that ability to go ahead and see those much, much easier. So it's up to you if you want to try them, but I think it's kind of handy to be able to kind of do things like that. So the example that we did is, this chapter, I get the book home and I realize the chapter's been massively highlighted. I can go ahead and add a note to that so that the library will see that both before I turn it in and once I turn that in. And I also do get a notification as the patron sent to me that that has been there. Okay. So how do you all feel about your date accession? Is that something that you want in your catalog? If it is, then yay, because that is now an option that you can go ahead and have that shown in your catalog in the staff client. There's a new date in there. So if I go ahead and pull up this record, you now will have that date accessioned there also, which again can come in handy from time to time, but just kind of be aware of that one. That's a new feature that has been added. So your date accessioned will now show in your table along with the other information that you have shown. Okay. All right, there were quite a few bugs that were also fixed that applied to circulation and patrons. If you want to see all of them, we encourage you to take a look at our upgrade site, and it will have the complete notes in there for all of those that are put in there. But a lot of those are ones that are just kind of things to be, that aren't going to change your workflow, things like that. Little things like, for instance, there was the block return of lost items. We discovered that if you checked in a lost item twice, it actually would return it. That has now been fixed so that that does not happen, and it actually does keep that one as lost. So a few little things like that, nothing significant to be aware of, but a few little bugs that have been fixed to be aware of and be with that. The merge patrons, which was a new option that was added with this last, with 1805, it now will stop you from selecting all. So you can't select every single patron on the page and merge all 20 of them together. So it does, that select all does not work with merge patrons. You do have to select specific patrons to do that with. So I know we're at the end of our time. Kelly, anything that you want to highlight from this section?
No, you got a lot of stuff accomplished in an hour.
So again, a lot of changes, but as you can see from all of these, that they are ones that are just either little enhancements or making your workflow a little bit easier. As always, we encourage you to go ahead and make comments on Bugzilla if there's anything that really you would like to see fixed or changed or enhanced. That's what Bugzilla is for, not just things that are broken, but also for things that you'd like to see work differently or added to it. So please feel free to comment on anything on Bugzilla. You don't have to go through Bywater Solutions to do that. And I'll be happy to stick around and answer questions for a few minutes if anybody has any other questions. And thank you so much for participating in this webinar today. And I hope that everyone can go outside and enjoy their beautiful day, except for y'all in Kansas, and just take an umbrella with you.
Thanks, Donna.
Thank you, Kelly. So I think I probably put everybody to sleep. Yeah, Nancy, there is a lot of great features that have been added. And it's hard to decide how much time we want to spend on all of them. Oh, there's Libby. Hi, Libby. Thanks, Decatur. We love that you've been at all of the webinars. Love seeing y'all. Okay. Thanks to everyone, and we hope to see you at another webinar soon. Have a good day.